they were smashed in certain areas, so they were getting rid of them almost as junk.
The one that you took to Los Angeles?
I didn't take the car.
Didn't you say you drove Uncle Jimmy's car to Los Angeles or
No,
something?
that didn't work that way. Jimmy was out at San Diego Naval Base, and with a car, that old TR3, which he didn't take good care of. And he needed some place to put it. Well, it was in Vietnam for a year.
Yeah.
And he went over there before I did. I was interning, but I had gotten engaged to Lynn.
Yeah.
Before I went to LA to intern. So then he contacted me and said, Phil, I got this TR3, this kind of a cheap ass, I mean, not cheap, it was kind of a cute sports car, but not a good one. And,
Is that a Triumph?
Triumph. And they weren't too good then. Probably still aren't. They make a
British, right? It's British?
Yeah, they make a good motorcycle, by the way.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he brought it up to LA when I arrived there. I had a couple of days before my internship started, so we went together to see Greta Hoppenroth, who was a friend from Milwaukee, and I had dated a little bit, a girl from there once or twice before I ever met your mom. No, it wasn't. It was after I met your mom, but I had dated her for a couple of years. In fact, we weren't that close. But like one time she helped me move from one hospital to another. I had nothing but half a backseat of a car and clothing, that's all I had. But anyway, so we had to see her. She lived in Palo Alto Estates, maybe about, not where the fire was, but John Geeson, who was closer to her than I, told me that she lived in a place, the fire was, I think, in Palo Alto Estates, and she lived in another place like that. So we went to her home just to drop in without, we didn't have her phone number.
Oh, yeah.
And
You wouldn't? Oh.
and she wasn't home, and somebody was there, like a maid or her parents, I can't remember who.
Yeah.
And Jimmy and I, and so then we just went somewhere and played some pool, and we could both play a pretty good pool, Jimmy and I both.
So you knew him a little bit, Uncle Jimmy?
Yeah, and I had met him a few times when Lynn and I would go to Alexandria while we were engaged the last half year of med school before I went to LA.
So then you probably knew Aunt Dale and Aunt Jane as well, a little bit.
Well, Jane was they were both going to school at Marquette.
Yeah.
In fact, I had met Dale before I ever met your mom.
Oh, yeah?
I was thinking about this. I was thinking about you and the girls that you dated, like Roxana and a long time ago Stephanie, and I don't know any others. But I think you're like me. I think the women that you have gotten close to have selected you rather than you selecting them.
I don't know.
I don't know. I was going to ask you because, okay, the night I met your mom, she was with, what's her name? I'll think of it. They were both sorority roommates. There were 5 of them in one room.
Jeannie Begani.
Jane Bugani.
Was
Hey,
her
by the
roommate,
way,
I think.
John Geeson, he's got a little
Or C.C. Smith.
yeah,
was
but
the
it
other
wasn't
one.
Cece. She was in that room too, I think.
Yeah.
But Jeannie Magana was there at this party from a med student who had gone to pre-med at Marquette. John Geeson and I did it, but anyway, we're there at their party one night, and we had gone to homecoming at St. John's, which is a 3-hour drive away from Milwaukee. So we get to this party about 10 o'clock at night. They started earlier in those days, and so there's some music going. So there were these 2 girls standing there. So John said, "Well, let's ask these girls to dance." Or I said, "I don't know." So I asked Jeannie Magani to dance, and he asked Lynn to dance, and they danced together a couple of times, and then kind of we stopped dancing and went somewhere and kind of hung together a little bit, and then Lynn and Jeannie decided to switch on us. They didn't say anything. They just took us out to dance, and they had made the decision, and I'm not sure why.
Because she was a nurse in nursing school and you were in medical school?
Well, that's true, and by the way, Jeannie Magani wasn't in nursing.
Oh, she was not?
No. But she was in the same sorority as your mom.
Yeah. Well, they were roommates.
Yeah, yeah. So then, but John Geeson had dated Jeannie Magana at least 3 months, maybe longer, and they were pretty good buddies. And I had double dated with them, Lynn and I had, and I had double dated with them, by the way, with someone before I met your mom, Judy Benelli, who was in that same sorority, but she wasn't your mom's roommate, or friend particularly.
Okay.
Okay, so we went out one time to a rural area that's well known in Wisconsin, about a 1 hour drive from Milwaukee, to go half-ass hunting in the snow. It was the middle of winter. We had a 22 rifle, I guess. I might have had mine.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're going, and so there's a funny story. How did that go? Judy Benelli, we're going along, and John fires at something, and he had, Dean Regani was with him, and he fires at something, and Judy Benelli just flopped down the snow as if he shot her. It was really cool, good timing. I mean, it was like someone with good verbal timing. And John looks at, and then we all got the picture. It was pretty funny, because she really flopped.
And heavy snow too, so you could go like down.
Yeah, and she flopped just like a basketball player would flop.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, so that's kind of that story. But anyway, I asked John something, if he remembered, did that remind you of Jeannie Magana? And he said to me, this is just a few months ago, I don't remember Jeannie Magana.
Oh,
He's
really?
got some memory loss.
Yeah, he's your age?
Yeah, he's still a pretty good athlete.
Yeah.
In fact, he's the one that you felt. Did you hear about him falling through the ice?
No. Is that recent?
Okay, then I'll tell you this story.
Mm.
He lives out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. He and his wife Helen, they stayed with us one time. In fact, they're coming down this winter, I guess, or this soon. I mean, this summer. I don't know that.
Yeah.
But he has always been an athlete and a mountain guy, and he's an orthopedic surgeon, retired. But then he got cancer of the mouth, or tongue, and he had to get severe radiation, which severely affected his smell and taste, and his speech.
Yeah.
So, by the way, your mom knows him pretty well.
Yeah.
And then, and so he was at our wedding, by the way, John was. So anyway, he called me the other day, or about 2 weeks ago. He said, Bill, you got enough time to listen to a strange story? He said, yeah. He said, I always kind of like winter sports. He's a good skier. He said, I always kind of like winter sports, and I like ice skating. So it looked to me like the lake that they lived on a lake, and there's a hill. They live in a house up on a hill, and some cliffs around it. So he said, it looked like the ice was good, but I knew it was early, so I decided, I didn't tell my wife or anything because she wasn't around or something. I just took my skates around noon and went down there for the first time in the year. The ice looked pretty good, it was nice and smooth. He said, so put on my skates and started skating the opposite way I usually go, which was around the cliff. And I was about a half mile from home, and boom, he said, I went through the ice.
Oh, damn.
And I said, Jay, how close to the shore were you? And he said, yeah, he told me he was going to stay within 3 feet of the shore because he knew the ice could have been bad in some areas. So anyway, let me put this mask on. So he said, I managed to hold myself onto the edge of the ice, and I said, well, could you reach the bottom? He said, I think my toes could have touched it. Right, I just started scrambling to get out. He said, I managed to pull myself out, totally soaked. The temperature was 9 degrees.
Yeah.
He said, I got out, totally soaked, got over on shore. I was already pretty fatigued, he said, from fighting to get out of the ice. And he said, I figured I'd have a lot of trouble that cold walking home. So I tried to go up a hill because I knew one of my buddy's houses was up there, and he said I got halfway up, I couldn't go any further. So I stayed there and started crawling in apparently he didn't know it, but a guy who was testing the ice for ice fishing heard him later in the day and called rescue. And later, about 3 hours later, he was just lying there and he was getting very cold. And he heard groans overhead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and his buddy was the head of fire rescue at Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. He's kind of a big wheel over there. So he said, I heard some drones, but I didn't see anybody. And he said I was nearly unconscious. But anyway, then, but I kept yelling every few minutes. And then somebody
He wasn't injured, he was just
freezing.
He was cold
And
disoriented.
Yeah,
Or lost.
Yeah, and lost and weak from the cold in the old days.
Yeah.
But anyway, but good enough to ice skate, you know. He's a big athlete. He was a wide receiver on a football team in college.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they found me, took me to the emergency room. My body core temperature was 89 degrees.
Whoa.
He said, I'll let you decide what is survivable. And I'm not sure personally what it is, but I know it's lower than that, because one way we preserve the hearts, we bring when we're doing heart surgery is hypothermia.
Yeah.
Confusing the body with very cold solution.
Yeah.
So anyway, he said, so they kept me overnight, warmed me up and checked me out and sent me home the next day. And he called me 2 days later, told me the story. I said, damn, God, I'm telling that story. I said, your grandkids are going to have a story to tell. That's the last time I talked to him. That's about a week ago.
And that's kind of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure store, you know? Like if you go out by yourself at any age, then it's like when you go scuba diving, you always go with a buddy.
Apparently he didn't have a cell phone. I didn't ask him that, or it didn't work after the water. I don't know which. I don't think he took his cell phone. And
we may not have reception out there. I don't know how that works.
that is another thing. There are some cliffs around, and that's why he couldn't walk along the shore back home, because of the cliffs.
Could he not? Maybe I guess he couldn't attempt to skate back his path that he just took.
I don't think he was up for it by then.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't ask him anymore.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't ask him anymore.
I mean, if I was in that's kind of what I would try to do.
Well, I said, how long were you out there, John? He said, 4.5 hours.
Jesus.
He got hypothermic. Before, eventually, you won't feel cold anymore, and you'll eventually go unconscious.
Yeah, damn.
I've been that cold once or twice.
And meanwhile, no lasting effects of it? Like he didn't like lose a finger or anything?
If you want to preserve your brain when you've got low perfusion, like very low blood pressure or heart transplant, you cool the brain down.
Yeah.
You preserve it, really. But if you go too far too long, then you kill the cells. And that's a fine line. But it's lower than 89 degrees.
Yeah.
But his core body temperature, which they could measure, was 89 degrees.
Yeah.
And see, I don't think they had to intubate him. I'm almost sure they didn't, but that's one good way to measure core body temperature is with an endocrignal tube with a thermal register sensor on the end.
Yeah.
They may have put one down anyway, I don't know.
Huh.
But they could just put an NG tube down.
But he was relatively close to a decent hospital or something.
To what?
He was relatively close to a decent hospital.
Probably. I know his home is only about a 5-minute drive from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is where they took him to the ER.
To his hospital, probably, where he used to.
That's where he worked. He was an orthopedic surgeon there almost of his life.
Yeah.
So, and he also, he had these amazing hobbies, there's a lot of, they're in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
And he raised, he had this farm out there near his house, and he raised pack mules for hunters and hikers to take out in the mountains, and these pack mules would carry their supplies.
Yeah.
Or they would ride them too, and he had about 8 of them at one time.
Oh yeah. Huh.
And he would rent them as well as go using them at times. All that. So when we did that, 4 of us rode motorcycles up to Jasper, Canada, which is halfway to the Yukon. Went back over the Rockies, came down to British Columbia, stayed in a few, towns
Yeah.
We were riding for 10 days, and we stopped, on the way back in, we came in, and Coeur d'Alene Island was 25 miles from the Canadian border. And so then we went and got a hotel there and went over to see John Geeson, and then he took us to one of their clubs, like his country club or something where they play, where his golf course was.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, we were there, and then we went out to a place that night, had dinner, just John, his wife didn't go with us.
Yeah.
But I remember what he did one time when we first got there, we were on our motorcycles then, we go to his house, the one where he skated out of, and we go to his house on the motorcycles, four of us, pretty damn dirty because we were in the rain all day, all these big, all these big motorcycle suits to stay warm, and we go into his house, and he takes us down through the basement, which was built out like they are in the cold areas.
Yeah.
And they had windows looking out on the lake. And down there, his wife and his daughter were feeding his granddaughter, who was about a year old, in her bike chair. And he didn't tell her we were coming. They didn't say anything, but I know they were surprised. She probably chewed him out.
Yeah.
So all that.
Well, he dodged a bullet anyway.
Yeah, you know, Jeannie Magana was Lynn's buddy and others, and John's dated girlfriend for about 4 months. The guy, we drove out to, from Washington D.C. to L.A. in a delivery car.
Yeah.
They used to pay you to deliver cars.
Yeah.
And so I got one to deliver from Alexandria to Los Angeles to somebody who wanted it, but it was VW. I knew VW.
A bug?
Yeah, it was brought in, I think, to a port in Washington, probably,
Yeah.
or Baltimore, probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we took that, and two were one. It was Dave Moga, Bill Schneebly, John Keeson, and I. Keeson went, he had a car, and I think Moga went with him, and Schneebly went with me, and we went out through Cheyenne, Wyoming. And that's where Jeannie Magana was from. Well, we didn't tell her we were from either, because in those days you had to get a landline and a phone and pay for it, everything. So we just knew her address.
Yeah.
Went there to see her one morning, and she wasn't home, but her parents, she was still, you know, just out of college.
Yeah.
A couple of years living at home, but her parents were there, and they were happy to see us. It's kind of a big sheep country,
Yeah.
Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yeah.
And so they made breakfast for all of us, four guys.
Yeah.
They loved to see us coming through to go for internship in LA.
Yeah.
And the first thing we were going to do was go to Eddie Gallagher's wedding he got married in LA, because that's where his wife Pinky was from. And she was one of our friends in med school.
Oh yeah.
She went to med school. All these people, we all met up in Norfolk.
Yeah.
So all that, that's all I have. And we dropped in on them too. In those days you did that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because communications were not that easy.
I think people were somewhat accustomed to that happening,
Especially
or weren't
out
surprised
west.
by it. Like,
Especially those Western people.
yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
This day I can't shake this damn barbers.
Yeah, that's well, I don't know what you do differently. Just fluids and rest, right? And that's it.
And I talked to Jared Crowley, who's my primary, who's pretty smart, about 5 days ago, and we said, well, maybe I had gone on amoxicillin myself after 3 weeks, which is usually the first choice drug for, for empirical treatment of what's almost surely a viral illness of respiratory. And at 5 days, no good came from it, so I stopped it. And but I thought I was getting well before that, slowly, or after that. Anyway, and then I had this major relapse, not right after I stopped the antibiotics, about a week later, and that's what I'm still trying to get over. And it's been, I'm in my 7th week. So I'm immunosuppressed, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And when you have no testosterone, your immune system gets partly paralyzed.
Yeah.
Testosterone is a very important drug for many functions other than sexual.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're in utero, testosterone produced in your testicles and your adrenal glands determines your sex.
Yeah.
And genetics determine whether or not you have testicles or ovaries. And so, yeah, so the general rule is in adults, normal adults, males have twice as much testosterone as women, but males have 1/3 as much estrogen as women, and the opposite is true for women. Because their adrenal gland makes testosterone and estrogen, they have about 1/3 as much testosterone as a male normally, but there's a lot of differences.
Is that throughout their life?
What?
Throughout their
Yeah,
life?
yeah, that's the adult norm. And so if you take out the testicles in a male, they'll still have 1/3 as much testosterone circulating.
Yeah.
And if the women go through menopause, which is their ovaries, which makes the larger amount of their estrogen, their ovaries dry up, then they go through menopause, but they're still making about 1/3 as much estrogen as they did before.
Yeah.
But they have hot flushes and they don't feel as good. And that's why they always took hormone replacement. And then this big thing for several decades that they realized that people who are susceptible to breast cancer are more likely to get it on hormone replacement, women, and more susceptible to ovarian cancer as well, and even uterine cancer if they're on hormone replacement. So then that all got cut out about 40 years ago. And that went too far the opposite way, and I want Libby to go back on it because I think she's had some memory loss
Oh yeah.
and personality change in the last 4 or 5 years that may be related to early cognitive changes.
Yeah.
That can be, that's right, sex hormones, both kinds are closely tied to mental aging as well. So all that goes on, and then I get to be a weenie man every time I go on these drugs. And I have immune suppression, and Libby has immune suppression because she's on these anti-rheumatoid drugs. And even on that, she had to have 2 shoulder replacements.
You wouldn't. So for COVID, they have like Paxlovid or something like that. That wouldn't be something that you would try for the flu, would it?
If you're dying, if you're really going bad with the flu and getting pneumonia, then they put you in hospital, put you on IV 2 or 3 antiviral meds, which aren't very effective, but can make a difference.
Yeah.
And there are more of those coming out, but it's not nearly the impact that an antibiotic has, the right antibiotic has on a bacterial infection.
But Paxlovid is apparently effective for COVID, right? Or no? I don't know.
Paxlovid diminishes the severity, the death rate, and severity and death rate slightly for people who are immunosuppressed or old, that is over 65, if it's taken within about 5 days from the onset of symptoms.
Oh yeah.
After that, there's so much viral replication that it doesn't have
Doesn't work.
It cause any difference. There's a downside to it too.
And it works on all the different strains of COVID too.
I think there's a little bit of difference, but my understanding is that it has been effective on all the strains that we've had.
Yeah.
And there are, but you can't. The results of testing for that always come out about 3 years after that strain may have mutated.
Yeah.
But then as NIH does all that testing from various hospital samples all over the country, and then it takes about initially it took about 3 years to collate all that data and give reliable clinical advice for Paxlovid. Paxlovid is a 2-drug antiviral, oral antiviral,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've forgotten what they are. Yeah, so, and now, so what do you got? You got this TV ads that you say, if it's COVID, tax lowered, okay. Well, that's a bunch of stupid idiots trying to make money. I mean, not stupid, very bright financial people trying to make money off fools. And they want, oh, by the way, Paxlovid has showed no benefit for healthy adults
Oh really?
until about old age, which is defined as over 65, or immunosuppressed people. Paxlovid doesn't make a difference. That's how relatively ineffective it is. But if you listen to the advertising, which most people, that's all they hear if they're not medical, and they think, oh, if it's COVID, Paxlovid. But in you, like you're immunologically healthy and 50-some, it would not help you if you took it the second day of your symptoms and tested and you got COVID, you take it. But basically, it doesn't make a difference. And there are large studies now that are available for COVID.
COVID is going to be seasonal the way the flu is. COVID is going to be seasonal the way the flu is.
I don't know. They tend to be transmitted more when people stay indoors because of the cold, and the viruses thrive cold. When you want to store a virus, you put it in the fridge.
Yeah.
When you want to store a bacteria, you keep it warm. The opposite.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like when you're doing cultures and stuff.
Yeah.